pretty much that, and then upstairs I put the charge back up by like 11 o'clock in the morning.
So how big is this?
It's an array, solar array, so I've got them on top of my wood boiler furnace, my firewood shed, and then I built a 30-foot long by 12-foot high, 30-degree angled, just built that last weekend, that's why I'm sunburned, I did that.
How much baseball have you been going to?
But that'll have 18 panels on it.
This is like the time of
So
year.
I'll have,
Right now, we're getting ready to,
longitude or latitude, whatever, so it's like 30 degrees is ideal for a pump like that. So do that, we should be good to go.
I just had someone.
I asked this before, will your wife go up there too?
Oh, yeah, well, she was born and raised in Mount Pleasant. She hates going up there. She's been up there her whole life. She wants to be.
So she doesn't go
Oh,
up?
she goes up like every, second or third weekend, because her parents are still up there, her sister's up there, so.
Yeah.
Make sure I get Maggie.
But I'm trying to make it, I'm making it incrementally more and
look at
more
this?
lady-friendly.
Oh, sure.
So she's finding it, and her parents are getting on the East, so I think she's starting to see that it's easier for us to drive up there than it is for them to drive down here. I mean, it's 2.5 hours. But with the truck,
Roger, how are you?
$175.
How are you?
It was hot and they're terrible.
That's exciting.
All right, just realized it's 7:02. We have everybody here? Yep. Okay, is our TV guy good? They usually get yelled at first, so.
I have a lot of work to do, so.
I got a thumbs up.
Okay, good. Okay, you guys ready?
I think we are.
Excellent. Mr. Mayor, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to the regularly scheduled Downtown Development Authority meeting for the City of Rochester for June 15, 2022. Madam Recording Secretary, the roll, please.
Roger Knapp,
Yes.
Tony Carson,
Here.
Lisa Mooney Williams is absent, Chris Johnson is absent, Paul Bloomingdale is absent, Eric Diana,
Present.
Marilyn Trent,
Here.
Paul Haig,
Here.
Mayor Vixen,
Here.
Chairman Giovanni,
Here.
Linda Harrison is absent, Don Sikowitz. Here. Christie Terrell.
Here.
Fantastic. We shall move forward. Thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. I thought we were down in Miami. Got in my car after work. It was 102. I was like, holy moly. So it did go down to 95. It could be my son right now. He's playing lacrosse at Seaholm. Yeah. First game of the season, so it's going to be great. Hopefully, he won't hesitate to hydrate. Okay, roll call complete. Minutes, approval of the meeting minutes for April 2022. Anybody care to talk about the minutes or make a motion for
So
approval?
moved.
So, motion by the mayor,
I'll second it.
support by the vice chair. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Audience comments. This is where we need the crickets sound wave file. Okay, liaison reports. City Council, Ms. Harrison's not here. Mayor, I understand that you're going to
Yes,
freestyle for us.
I will be happy to do that. So we have met, we hadn't met in a while. We introduced a couple new people. I think Christie's gonna, or Nick's gonna do that. We had that dementia presentation that we had last time, and I think the city council is absolutely interested in doing that, so we're moving forward with that. We purchased some air pack bottles for the fire hall. We talked about some other mental health things, and we talked about the spongy moth situations that used to be the gypsy moths, but gypsy is not allowed to be said anymore. So that is out of style, and we're getting a new furnace for the fire station, and we're moving forward. So, and I think there's a administrative report coming up that I will talk about some other things as well.
Fantastic. So even the moths can't escape you woke.
Moths, correct.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Woke moths.
The woke moths.
Well, we need them.
Yes, we
All
do.
moths.
Yeah, all moths.
Whatever you call them.
All
A
moths.
By
All
any
moths
other
matter.
name.
According to
Come
Mr.
on.
Banda, the woke moths are doing damage in mid-state, are doing horrible damage, so.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah.
basics,
Got it.
right, you're right.
All right.
The good moths we
Woke
need.
or not, let's get rid of them, right? All right, fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Trent.
Yes, we're all about events, past events, upcoming events, just events. So, yes, first of all, I'd like to commend the city council for showing up to 2 Memorial Day events. They were very dedicated. The one in the morning at the Avon Cemetery, and then the one that the Chamber presented, or the Chamber Foundation, Rochester Chamber Foundation presented the first time they've done this, and it was a success, and we had a parade.
And we walked from Adams High School to Silver Bell and Adams on a day pretty much like this out here, so it was,
Weight loss.
and Mayor Barnett wore a 3-piece suit the entire walk. Of
course he
I
did.
gave him credit for that.
Why?
He probably lost 5 pounds.
So I told him he could do it. He could take a tie and jacket off, but no, it was a very good event.
Yeah, that's what I heard, so I wanted to make sure I gave some love there. So the upcoming event is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Roundtable, Monday, June 20th, 9 to 11 a.m. at the Rochester Community House with the panel speakers from Dutton Farms, Consumers Energy, Trinity Health, and Oakland County. It's free of charge. A light breakfast will be provided. And please register on the Rochester Regional Chamber website, Chamber of Commerce website. And then, the most importantly, there is a ribbon cutting for the Rochester City Beautiful Commission mural. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it is lovely. And it's in the park on the DPW building that they call the GGP, huh? GBB? Great. Yeah, no wonder I never remember it.
Technical term. We actually had to hire some consultants to come up with that name.
Yes, it's at 4 PM. The Rochester Pollinators were also will be there as well, as they were a part of it. And we look forward to that. We already have a lot of people signing up. You don't have to sign up. It's not an RSVP event. It's not black tie. So then, there is ribbon cutting for Aquest Wealth Strategies, Wednesday, June 22nd at 4 PM, the new business on East Street, 414 East Street, Rochester. Then there is one tomorrow at an orthodontist. They didn't tell me what it was. But it's
The 1,000 building.
Rochester Orthodontics.
Rochester Orthodontist. I should have guessed. But anyway, yes, tomorrow there's a ribbon cutting, and we welcome them as well. It's 4 PM. All our ribbon cuttings are at 4 PM. So that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you for the update. Any questions for our chamber chair, our liaison? Seeing none, moving forward, Historical Commission, Mr. Sinkowitz. Welcome. Good evening.
You might have to go to the microphone for this one, sorry. Don't want to miss a thing.
Okay, thank you. So I don't forget, during the Heritage Festival, I noticed a great deal of number of people taking pictures by the mural in the park, so that really added to it. And there were several comments about the painting. It was very attractive.
Oh, thank you.
So after a 3-year delay, boy, time sure went fast, it seems, coupled with moving the Heritage Festival back to the Memorial Day weekend. Mother Nature provided us 2 beautiful days of sunshine, a little bit of clouds, not too hot, not too cold. Friday, a little bit of rain. But as a result, the Lions were able to get over 120 cars each day, Saturday and Sunday, on the lawn in the park without doing a great deal of damage or sinking up to their axles. So that went very well. The sun also allowed the Oakland Astronomy Club to set up about 4 telescopes that track the sun real time. And they had those telescopes interfaced to laptops, so you weren't really looking at the sun. So that was very successful. The sunny and warm weather and lack of rain also allowed the reenactors, the Civil War reenactors, and the Revolutionary War reenactors to forget their winter clothing and their rain gear, so they had a good time. Were able to spend the whole weekend encamped. The artists and their nonprofit vendors displayed a unique assortment of handcrafts and goods and attracted plenty of shoppers, so that was nice to see. The 3 Irish dance groups that we had the Motor City Irish Dance Group, the 2nd Street Studio of Dance, and the Shannon Irish Dancers Academy, excuse me. They perform flawlessly, and they're actually very, very low maintenance. We just help them get their equipment to the band shell, and they take care of everything else. The Pioneer Playground, assembled by the Dinosaur Hill staff, provided some unique entertainment and educational opportunities that provided an alternative to passive entertainment such as cell phones and laptops and things of that. So that was nice to see. The Rochester Historical Commission sold a handful of the DUR books and also historical pamphlets during the weekend. We definitely thank Chief Steve and the police officers who provided appropriate presents during the festival. Also, it was nice to see Walter walk through the park with his 2 companions, so that worked out really well. And we also thank Chief John for bringing over the fire trucks. And yes, I did sneak over there to look at the fire trucks myself, so always entertaining and also very educational. We definitely have to thank Collins and Carl from the Park Service for helping us, gather the wood, the water, and all the logistics that we needed to put on the event. Yes, we did have a small number of issues, but after 3 years, I was pleased with the issues that we had. One of them was a little bit major, it was parking. But I think anytime you have a park in the middle of a city surrounded by residential and somewhat like commercial, you're going to have some parking issues. But I think effective communication will be able to work those out. So thank you.
Fantastic.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Was there only one concession stand there? I know that I went there and I was gonna have a tater dog and line was forever. And I was thinking that maybe that was the only concession stand, yeah, there.
The car Individuals Lions Club, that was a concession. I'm assuming you're talking about that one.
The one right below the pavilion, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you mean the community, by the community house there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, we call it the community.
Yeah, that's their choice actually to almost limit to that concession. Now, we did have some issues with getting the food trucks. As it turned out, that on Saturday we didn't have any food trucks per se. We did have the cookie lady who had to sell an astronomical amount of cookies because it seemed like everybody that I saw walking had 2 or 3 dozens of cookies. And then, of course, the kettle corn pop. But on Sunday there were 2 food trucks there by the pavilion side, by the new restrooms in that area. And they did really well. As a matter of fact, we had to make an emergency run to GFS to get supplies because they did run out. But yes, that's on our list to address for next year, the food trucks, along with the one at the Lions Club, because you're not the only one that brought that up. Several of the attendees also brought that up. In fact, we moved them up earlier in the morning so that they could serve some breakfast items as well.
Oh, fantastic. Any other questions? Sure. Thank you for your update. We appreciate it, and glad to see that life returning to normal in the big city. Principal Shopping District, Mr. Haig.
Well, Rochester Pose went to the city council, and then we have 2 big events this weekend for shoppers and for crowds. We have the farmers market on Saturday, and also we have Junk in the Trunk.
Oh, that's right.
Junk in the Truck, you got to come see it. There will be a lot of vendors there. It's from 9 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's well worth everybody shopping first at the farmers market and then coming up to Junk on the Trunk. So that's it.
Good, fantastic. Any other questions for our chair? Seeing none. Moving forward, general business agenda, city administration update. Mayor Bixson.
Yes, so in our executive committee meeting, we realized we hadn't met in a while, and some things happened at City Hall, which I assume most people know, but just to announce to this group, our city manager, Blaine Wing, did resign. The city council accepted his resignation. He was here for 7 years, and we wish him well going into the future. Nick Banda was gracious enough to agree to be the interim city manager during our transition. As Ben knows as well as I do, these sometimes can be difficult, the transitions, but I think with Nick and Nick's experience and with the department head stepping up, I see this as very seamless. So far, things have been running very nicely, and we thank all the city staff. And we've actually hired James Vetrano to lead our search for a new city manager. So as things change,
More things change, more
they
things stay
go
the same.
back to the same.
Right.
We are looking, so now we've put out the ad in the newspaper and the various MML sites and things, and we are anxious to have anybody who would like to apply internally, externally. We're looking for all people. Ben, you can apply if you'd like, even,
I'm trying to cut back.
that would be interesting, you working for the city council as opposed,
That
be a
would be,
different,
well, the way the world's going, Stuart, that would not surprise me.
Yeah, one never knows. So, it's never a great time to do that, but, that's what happened. Nick's doing a great job. Again, we thank him for coming, for postponing his retirement. And we will be having, public interviews of city manager candidates, hopefully as soon as possible, and keep moving the city forward. And I know Nick has, so if there's any questions on that, and I know Nick wanted to introduce some people, and
When I come up with that kind of vote, I'll put that up.
Yeah, we got you in a couple of.
okay,
Yeah.
and that's all I have. That was the kind of big news for the city.
Got it. So, yeah, when we were talking executives, we hadn't been together in a little while. It's like, well, that's kind of an important thing. I didn't know if everybody knew, so we wanted to make sure that, that everybody was in the know to the extent, I mean, it's a very small town. We know how quickly word gets around, but wanted to make sure that everybody knew about it, and B, knew that, Nick was gracious and stepped up and sort of picked up the baton, and it's been seamless. I mean, really, there have been zero issues, so we appreciate you stepping up and putting off your retirement a little bit longer to get us through the hump. So thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Now I know why I got a sideways stare from you when I asked how retirement was going the other day.
Check with me in about 3 months, right?
But really, Nick doesn't have anything better to do
No,
anyway,
totally,
does he?
yeah.
So, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no.
That's efficient.
Yeah, I know. That's hilarious. All right. So is there any questions for the mayor on this particular topic? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. B, so election of DDA board officers. It is that time again, people.
Can we just do this?
Yeah, I know. It's like, it's like today's Groundhog's Day for a lot of things, right? So I guess at this point, on council, we would flip it over to the city attorney and go through all that. I'm not sure how that works out, but it goes to you.
Yeah.
All right, so I will
Yep.
TO it to our director. Madam Director.
I was the
So our current slate is in front of you. Our chairman, Ben Giovanelli, vice chairman is Tony LaPuma, and our secretary is Marilyn Trent. So we're looking for nominations for that position. If someone would be interested in just renewing these officers, you could make a motion for the slate in front of you, or you can nominate anyone you like.
I move to make a motion to nominate the three aforementioned people in their aforementioned roles, as you discussed.
All right, is there support?
second it.
Thank you. For the three that have just been voluntold, are you interested in continuing to serve?
Yeah, considering I didn't know I was secretary, but
Please.
it
You've been doing a great job. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Do I get like a certificate or award for doing such?
No, this is it.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Well, I can do it again.
Beautiful.
I have no problem doing what I did last time.
Steve's smiling nod
There-
is reward enough.
There it is. Do we need a roll call vote for this?
And it's okay.
We don't,
I'm
okay.
not complaining about my job duties.
All
I
right.
think they
All
work
right,
out.
so there's a motion on the floor. Is there, just to make sure that all three of us still want to do this? I know I do. You in?
I'll do, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Marilyn, I know is in. Okay, all right, so just,
Very good.
just wanted to be clear then, just like we're not,
Anytime you want me to give you secretary stuff, I will.
right? That's right. Yeah, there's no dictation required. We sub that out, right?
Hey, I
So,
took shorthand on my own.
Madam Recording Secretary, the roll, please. Oh, it's actually, no, it's right, no, non-roll call vote. Okay, that's fine. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
no.
we do.
Yeah, we do.
Tanya did.
It was Tanya.
Yep.
I guess I'm not a very good secretary.
I can give you some tips.
All right.
Do nothing.
Do nothing and get recognized for it. It's the
Take the
best
glory.
ever.
It's all good.
Okay, so we'll try this one more time. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So be careful what you ask for. You just might get it for one more year.
Yes.
All right, onward and upward, as they say. Okay, 6C, employee wage adjustment, Anthony and, it's Anthony, I think, so. We can, if you want to tee it up, or I'm happy to tee it up. As far as I know, I'm always the, what's that? Oh, okay, yeah, no, I just, administration and the mayor can help support me in this one too, in terms of how it went at council. But the city had gone through a wage study. Various positions were analyzed, and we had to make some adjustments on the DDA side that mirrored the positions on the city side. And the council eventually adopted that study a couple meetings ago or so. And for us, the adjustments, I mean, we don't have a lot of staff, so but we had already planned for most of it in the budget that begins in July 1. There's going to be a portion that hits in the current year because the effective date is May 8th or something like that?
May 2nd.
May 2nd? Okay, so that is the non-accountant, the accountant giving you the non-accountant's version of what it is, but Anthony, feel free to give us what really happened, so. Mr. Finance Director.
How much background would you like? Do you
Right,
want
yeah, no, don't go into GL accounts, they'll freak out.
Very good. Okay, so as been said, there's the summary of it. So I'll just give you, I'll ask any questions. I will go into as much detail as you want. July 1 is the start of the new fiscal year, so the portion covering prior to July 1 would essentially be all of May and June. Looking as of today's numbers, the budget is adopted by department, so if you look at the department balances as of today, it's more than adequate enough for the rest of the year. 15,973, and in the other one, 60,109, though that will have some other expenses coming out shortly, is enough to cover the May and June proration amount. When we look at the next fiscal year balances, we, as Ben had mentioned, there was already an anticipation during goals and objectives, and we had talked about it. We had put some placeholders already in the budget while we were waiting to get the finalization from both the study being finalized as well as what council ended up adopting. So with that, the amount and placeholders that are in is essentially enough to cover minus a couple $1,000s. But in the contractual services line, if we look at what the trending has been for the current year and past fiscal year, I believe we can take the last couple thousand out of the contractual service line and have a net zero for that amendment. So there's a brief summary.
Anthony, can you just back up one more step?
Yes.
And ask, and why did the city do the study?
Well, we had not done a study for about, what was it, October of 13. So it's been a very long time since a wage and compensation study was done. So council had said, you know, we got to do this, especially market coming out of COVID. The cough was not COVID related, and coming out of that, there was, you know, everyone's competing, right? There's a lot of scarce resources for employees, and we wanted to see where were we at. Turnover being what it is it because of wages? Is it because of whatever the reason is? Wanted to make sure that the wage part was covered. So the study covered all the non-union positions with the primary focus, and then that gave us an idea of, okay, in all of the comparable communities, if Christie was actually job hunting, which we know she never will, then where would that comparable salary be? So where the study ended up is moving it to a 50% to market rate, which means half the other comparable communities are paying less and the other half are paying more. So this puts us right at the 50% benchmark with these changes as proposed. So taking that with what the increases are, it's obviously we're well below the 50% mark prior, so this is where that adjustment is being requested.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just
Yeah, please.
So we did this study, and we looked at it as, what would it take to replace a person if they left? And we felt like we needed to get there. There were some big increases that Ben would probably back me up on this. 10 years ago, I would have just said, absolutely not, that's crazy. But it's a different world. It's been 10 years, and we have to compete like everybody else. We have people leaving now like everybody else, so we felt like we needed to do this to stay competitive, and that's just how it is now. And it's uncomfortable in some respects to vote on, big pay increases for people. But that's just the reality. So the city council was unanimous in agreement on that.
So this is more or less just sort of codifying what council went through the exercise. So I think it was my first term on council. We did it last time, so 2013. The mayor then and the mayor now, I was sort of shocked, but it is the reality of the situation, and given how rampant inflation is, it's just, it's bananas. So while it seems sort of counterintuitive to be doing this as we're transitioning into recession and making these commitments, on the flip side, with inflation running 8% plus, you're still not keeping up. So it's a murky mess. But the good news is that through the study, we've been able to justify a compensation level based on who, the different positions. Everybody got a bump, but I think we're pretty, now we're, to Anthony's point, we're sort of right in the middle of the median of what each position was defined at. So I think that on balance, and Madam Director, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everybody's sort of happy with the results, and as they should be. And dollar-wise, do we have, just one second, I promise.
Okay.
So we had two, was there physical budget amendments? You're saying we don't need to do more? None? Okay.
Do not know.
All right, very good. All right, so Eric first, and then Marilyn.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in your view, with these changes, are we going to have to go back 2 or 3 years from now and make another wholesale set of changes again, just with the factors that you mentioned, inflation, things like that?
Well, with the way this is written, is the next review is going to be next fiscal year. We'll take another peek at it. So typically, what we've done in the past is that once these things were said, it ended up being cost of living adjustments. And I hate to just say, pancake spread, 3% or 2% or whatever the cost of living is, but it's such a dynamic environment, I really don't know. My sense is yeah, we're absolutely going to look at it, for next budget year, and, we'll consider both the economics of the outside and then, also what's going on internally as well. And I can guess that this board will work very hard and arrive at a decision that's a favorable outcome for everybody, being respectful of the tax dollars, of course. Thank you. Marilyn?
Yeah, I think you kind of answered my question. So there had been there were incremental raises based on cost of living by a percentage point that you decided upon? Is that it? It wasn't like 10 years and then 10 years later?
No, so I think, kind of.
10 years seems like a long time.
Oh,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think that you could justify it both ways, 10 years and, mitigating circumstances, but 10 years is 10 years. You would say that beyond inflation or whatever.
Yeah, no, I
you're
agree.
Pointing
And
out, my
we did.
counter argument would be, that's a long time.
Yeah, sure. No, I
would
get
say-
it. And I think we're saying the
My
same thing.
employees would think that too.
Yeah. Well, but we did do adjustments over the course of that 10 years without a study.
Okay.
Right?
I
mean,
see.
there was
Okay,
raises
there were
that were
some
given.
kind of
Yeah,
adjustments.
so
Okay. And
it's
this
not
was-
like we were sitting here and these guys haven't had a raise in 10 years, right? So
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that for
if that was the
everybody
case,
who's
we would
listening.
not have any of the staff here. And, as time went on, our former chairman, we were working through budget. We made some adjustments, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, I think, and kind of sort of trued up. We're trying to keep up with it, but this gives us, a benchmark, if you will.
Yeah, it's a great study to understand what
Right,
you
and I-
have and.
And I just say one more thing. I think that a big thing is the city's retirement plan has changed since 10 years ago.
Sure, yeah.
Radically.
Yeah.
So, it's been,
It's not defined benefits.
it's not defined benefits. You don't have Blue Cross for Life. I mean, it's, so that makes you, in my view, need to probably pay a higher salary.
Right, I
Because
would
you've
agree.
given
if
up
you're-
some of that.
it's
And
just-
that's not for, the people who were working here before then still get the previous plan, but
Right.
people who worked here since now do not.
And that's what other cities are doing as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to reduce their pension liability. I mean, it's been
I
going
mean,
on for
that Blue
decades.
Cross Blue Shield and all.
I have one-
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is appropriate to ask this way, I don't want to embarrass Christie, but is she at the top of the pay scale in her career with
we-
this new system?
Median,
No.
50 percentile, wasn't it?
She'll be
thought you said
just
50.
under median if this is approved for the change. Then she will then be just under the median part of the range.
Under the median part of it.
Yeah, so right at 50%, so it's
Yeah.
neither, there's, in that particular position, which is kind of sort of harder to pin down because of the nature of it, but the, like, bucket that she fell in, and I always hated this, like, HR things in front of a live TV camera, to me, was just the goofiest thing of dealing with city government, but whatever. But being the 50th percentile, half of the people in that defined position are making less and half are making more, so she's right in the middle.
But I think she's the best.
Well,
We
of
have in the
course,
state.
and everybody else does too, but we also have a lot of angry taxpayers out there that want us to be more responsible tax dollars. So we're trying to walk that tightrope, and I think, I mean, at our discussions, I think everybody's sort of happy with what the end result is, and I don't want to, pick any scabs if I don't have to, does that make sense? I don't
Right.
know. I think we're in a good spot. I think that your point is well taken, and I understand it. I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. When we do the budget next year, we'll make it part of that discussion point, and we'll see where that goes. Everybody's getting a pretty good-sized bump this year, and let's just let it ride until next year, and we'll pick it back up.
So you do have the ability to have individuals, I know that would be a
Oh,
very
yeah, totally.
difficult thing.
Yeah, yeah,
for
no,
municipalities to do that, but-
each individual stands on their own. The board can do whatever it wants, the council can do whatever it wants.
I'm sure we have a lot of.
But we have open hearings for a reason, right? So it's like, we want to make sure that everybody's transparent and we understand. But for us, I think we've arrived at a good thing. My personal opinion is that we've trued everybody up to a point where they're happy, not just on the DDA, but I think within the entire city. And if there's people out there that want to go for the other 50% to get to the top of the thing, they can go ahead and take a shot at it, but, that means that we're also a very competitive pay and attractive for others to come in. So I will say that, one of the companies that myself and my partners own is a staffing and recruiting company, and we've got, baby accountants coming out of college with 6 months of experience making $100,000 a year. It's insane. And and when I was making 20 when I first got out, so, but I got a little moss on my back, but still. But $100,000 for a baby accountant is a lot of money. So,
We're doing T-charts on green bar paper.
dude, it's funny. We could spend the whole thing. That's actually a transition from green bar to Excel 1, 2, 3. That was
And I will say that
This thing's been gone up since 1950.
the mayor got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
No pay increase.
That's weak.
Yeah, but
That's
look at
really
all
weak.
Look at all the
Got
prestige.
50%, if I was 50% like
Yeah,
what
but look at
Barnett,
all-
I'd be,
Yeah, no.
Look at all the prestige you get.
Yeah, no,
You're-
that's
you-
right.
It's
That's right.
prestige,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
If
You're
it was Mayor Christie, maybe she'd,
Got it. So, Madam Recording Secretary, what action do we need to do as far as adopting this? It's a budget impact.
Recommended action here, so if somebody wants to make a motion.
Okay.
All right, so,
Second from the last paragraph.
right. Anthony did that great thing, which I reviewed 5 times, and I forgot about that
Yeah,
part.
and the one thing that I'll just mention that was kind of a two-part to this is, council did have a second piece, for employees that were getting over, if the adjustment from the study was over 10,000, it was split. So there will be then a 6-month follow-up, right around November, December that will be going back to council for approval on the balance. So there's kind of a two-part to this, in
That's,
the ranges.
that's for Jenna and Taylor.
Jenna and Taylor, yes.
Yeah.
Not Christie, she's below 10.
Got it.
Below 10.
It's the amount of increase, $10,000 increase.
Yeah,
So-
as the mayor had said, there were some large jumps. Those that were more than 10,000 in an adjustment were split. It was
Okay.
kind of a two-part phase.
Right, and it was more of a budget thing
Mm-hmm.
where we'd given a number. It wasn't more just to break it up, there was some like budget reasons to do that.
Exactly, yes.
So that was complicated.
Right. All right, so the motion that you need is somebody, so where it says requested action, I guess it's page 11, bottom of page 11 of the packet.
So it would be motion to adopt the recommended action.
Right, so the,
Spell it out.
yeah, it says it right here, so based on, I mean, I can't make a
All
motion.
right, so motion to adopt the requested action based on the approved government HR wage and compensation study from the May 23rd, 2022 City Council meeting and the points matrix, approve the attached DDA salary adjustment spreadsheet for a total of $28,767 for 3 DDA employees effective May 2nd, 2022, with performance evaluation increases not to be evaluated until July 1st, 2023. And that is the longest motion I will ever make.
The good news is it was all written out for you. You didn't have to freestyle, so that's.
Of the DDA.
Motion by Diana. Is there support for the motion?
Support.
Support by the mayor. It is a budget adjustment, so it's going to be a roll call vote. So, Madam Recording Secretary, the roll, please.
Kirsten?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
LaPuma?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Hay?
Yes.
Mayor Vixen?
Yes.
Chairman Giovanelli?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Thank you,
All right.
Board. I will make
You
sure
bet.
Llewellyn gets that all accounted for in the next round.
In my next life, I'm coming back as a wage and study consultant. Just, so you guys know, those guys make bank.
And thank you on behalf of the team.
Absolutely, for sure. Okay, one of my favorite things I've been waiting to get back at on the agenda, the Bill Pluma Community Spirit Award. Tony and Christie, who wants to take that one first?
Do you want to start and I'll just chime in?
This is Nick, Alex, Chrissy, and I, we met the other day, and we came up with a couple ideas. The first idea is to do a Spirit Award every year for a business person, a property owner, business person, manager, employee that really has a spirit for the city, because my dad loved the city. So we want to make this a yearly thing where we vote on it. Was it the DDA that votes on it?
There's going to be a small subcommittee that would vote. We'd ask for nominations, so there would be an actual form that people would have to fill out to submit, much like the parade grand marshals. People would have to nominate.
And then we'd have a little party at the restaurant every year, and we'd have a plaque that would hang up in the restaurant on the wall, either on the deck or inside. And then another thing we talked about is dedicating that portion of the trail by the Coney to my father, because he loved that piece. So I thought that was a wonderful thing, too. We're going to get a little plaque out there for him. We talked about getting a bronze plaque, Nick and I and Christie, and so I think that's the kind of way we're swinging. What else can we add to that, Christie?
Nothing, it just in your packet, we had mentioned that it'd be an annual award recognizing someone who has community pride, spirit, and love of Rochester in the spirit of Bill. So I think that's where we were going with that. And we didn't want it to be residents because we already have the Good Neighbor Award that's handled by CBC, so we really wanted to focus this on the business community.
So are we going to have somebody create like a bronze Fonz, but, like in Milwaukee, but put Bill down there on the, yeah.
So funny.
Yeah, they were talking about the plaque that would hang in La Puma's that would actually be a rolling plaque so that we would install a new name on it each year. So for years, people would see who won the Bill La
Right.
Puma
So
Spirit Award.
We had been talking about this for a while. We really want to recognize Bill for his efforts in the community for a jillion years, since dirt was new, right? So,
That's right.
this was, we had asked, a site to sort of come up with some stuff, and this was fantastic. So I guess from a sort of moving forward standpoint, this was more or less to take everybody's temperature to see where we're at.
Yeah, we want to see if everybody thought that this was appropriate and workable. So then we'll get together and put together the forms and all how we would promote it, all that good stuff, and come back to the board in July just to dot all the i's and cross the t's. And if so, then we would go ahead and release it for nominations. And our goal was to try and have the first award given either end of August, beginning of September, with the private Coney party, the bridge plaque, all that good stuff.
All right. Any comments, thoughts?
I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So renaming a portion of the trail and/or the bridge, so we don't own either of those. So I would, to make part of this,
That's a Nick question.
yeah, put a sign up. And
Well, we still, I think, we still own the trail. We gave easement to the city. Yeah, we own that sidewalk, so that's.
So as we put this together, let's put together a budget for, the different pieces that we're gonna need. we'll get the Browns Fonz quote and see what that looks like.
Can you tell them just from the sidewalk to down to the trails, just so I know where you're talking?
Yeah, like from Main Street to the trail,
to
that
the
little
trail,
section
yeah.
that goes by the Coney.
So, you know, like they name sections of the freeway for, you know, officers, they'll put the big,
Yeah.
right, yeah, so that'll be great. So, yeah, so I think if there's no objection, so kind of keep it, next meeting, come back with some concrete stuff, no pun intended, and we'll move forward and go from there. Media, you know, getting all that stuff rolled out too, which I know you guys are dialed in on, so yeah, so I'm glad to see this moving forward finally, so that's awesome, nice work, guys. I know it's kind of weird for you, because, you know,
But thank- I
whatever, but it's like,
appreciate it. That's a
wearing
wonderful
multiple
thing.
hats, but this is something that you know, as a board have wanted to do, so I'm glad to see it moving forward. Mr. Banda, an economic development update.
Yes, sir.
Acting city manager, Nick Banda.
My title now is officially the longest in the history of the world.
So you're acting city manager plus deputy city manager, do you have like two cards, or like, go like, does it wrap?
No. So with my pending retirement in March and then April, then May, then someday, we did go ahead planning for that. Staff had planned on that. So we looked at my job description. And the chief, Chief Shutdown and myself have apologized more than once, I think, about what we morphed our jobs into. We all came from different places. Council and this administration supported us to let us just do what we had to do. So sometimes when you do that for 14 years, it gets kind of wonky and you really can't define a job. And then when you go out to describe the job and it goes out to the market, people are like, what are you talking about? So they took my job and we cut it into three. So the forestry side, I happen to be a forester since 1980, or, 1976. So I'm gonna keep doing that maybe after retirement, just till we find somebody to take over doing the permitting and stuff. That's very important to the city to keep the tree program going. If you noticed on Letica, I'm gonna talk about in a second, that we just planted 27 trees out of that fund. So it's a good thing. So we separated that, and then there's a zoning and planning side, and there's a community development side, and there's a economic development side. So when we interviewed folks we tried to go out for deputy city manager / community and economic development director, and we got a lot of candidates, and everybody had a strength in different things, but it didn't seem like it all melded together. There's concern from some of the candidates, even like, I want to fail at anything. It's just time and grade makes this job easy, in my opinion. But until you get there, it's a little bit difficult. So we split it up into two different jobs. So I'm going to introduce Pat. Come on, Patrick. Pat came from, his dad started a company called Community Planning. As a planner of 45 years, I know who they were. He took over that company and ran it for his dad for years. And then slowly got out of it in the bad times and went to work for Macomb Township and then Washington Township as a planning and zoning administrator, community development director. So he gets it. He's wrote the books. He managed 38 communities doing their zoning ordinance and stuff. So I know we're in really good hands with what we're doing. And because of the fact that the city council, along with planning commission, just finished our master plan that took 5 years we didn't finish it for 5 years and complete it totally. We had struggles with the planning commission and the consultants trying to get through the new zoning classifications, and sure enough, 5 years later, we hadn't really adopted it properly. So we did it again, just completed it. Patrick's already tore it apart and figured out what's different between 2014 and now, and he's gonna shepherd that through the process, through the planning commission, back to the city council. This board will be part of that. Again, looking at all those zoning classifications that we wanted to make fit this community now in 2022. So no better person to do it than this man right here. So I'm excited that I could turn this over. Christy was worried about, hey, when somebody calls and can I go in this business? Because as you know, it's complicated with the parking counts and the buying parking and all that. I've been doing it for so long, I just know it. Patrick's sucking it up really fast. And when she calls, she'll know there's somebody that can answer that question just like that. And then Alec, who wasn't able to be here tonight, we saw a talent in this young man. He's from the east side of the state, the west side of the state. He was at East Grand Rapids, a zoning administrator. He had some of that. He had some economic development background, and then he was also an assistant city manager in a place called Coopersville, a little town. So he got his hands in DPW, and they had a water treatment plant. So we saw the talent in him, and the staff in the interviews kind of said, well, it'd be great to have that guy on our staff. Then we had our but our leading other, Public Works Director, Deputy Public Works Director, Sienna, the building coordinator, the building department clerk, all those people kind of left at the same time, Deputy, DPW Director, so we had some holes to fill. So the key for me doing this, the interim thing, was to turn this over to the next person and have it all ready to go. You can't ask for a better team than we have. Mayor, I think you'll back me on this. Monday night was a good example. There was some complicated things on the city council meeting, and every department that comes up knows their stuff. Council respects their opinion, values their work. Boom, we get her done. You couldn't do it without that team. Megan Fresno came out of retirement to work with me, be my executive assistant, with Holly Meyer filling in the other part. Couldn't have done it without them because Laura left. And then Megan Dettering left from the building department, but we got Rose McKinney, that Patrick knew her from before. And she's 27 years at Fraser. She knows building like you can't believe. So Randy's pretty new, the building official, because Sid retired a few years ago. And all some of the teams it's ready and ripe to take this forward. We're busier than heck. You're gonna hear in a second what's going on. And I'm very confident that in a couple of months, this thing's gonna be humming. Patrick's not intimidated by all the stuff that's coming in. We've got 5 or 6 things on the next planning commission agenda again. Remember how that was, Mayor, for years? It just keeps coming. So it's all good. So I'm happy Alex stepped up, and he's the public services director / economic development director. Christie's kind of melded him along to fill him in a lot of that. She'll talk about how we send him to Main Street now with her and Amber and Chris to get a taste of what Main Street America is about. Because he was in a little town, they didn't have Main Street like ours. So he's stepped up and he's running DPW. It's a public services group, water, parks, and everything. So all the places are there. We're just trying not to burn anybody out and keep it going as a team. So, Patrick, if you want to say hi for a sec here? Sure.
It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm looking forward to working with everyone in the city. So far, it's been an excellent beginning. The staff is wonderful. Council's been great, and Planning Commission, only been at 1 meeting, but seems like an excellent group. So we got a lot of projects in front of us, like Nick said, and it's going to be an exciting year. So looking forward to it, and anything I can do to help out with the DDA or any other projects, I'm excited to dig into. So it's going to be a great experience for me and hopefully for the city. So I'll look forward to meeting all of you individually at some point.
For sure. Well, welcome from the board, for sure. We're glad to have you on board.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased to say that he's here. It's a big worry, because you don't want to just leave and say, oh, good luck. You can't, not to this town. So
Chuck on the keys.
we're in good hands. We're in really good hands. So, with that, Stanley Cup starts in 15 minutes. So I rambled anyway, so I'm going to ramble with this so I don't get too far off, because we could be here for 2 hours. So at the council meeting, a few council meetings ago, Mayor asked me to do an update. We do it at business development. We do it at the planning commission. And just so everybody kind of knows, you see things going on in town, but you don't realize how much is going on in town. So I'm going to rip through this pretty quick and just give you some highlights of what's going on in no particular order. This year, normally every year, Paul, we have through business development, we have, where I go in front of anybody that wants to come, we usually get a couple hundred people or whatever at the Royal Park, and we catch all the businesses up. Anybody that wants to come, electeds come, planning commissioners come, ZBA members, and we catch everybody up on this. So this isn't as robust as that, but I thought this was relevant for you all to know what's going on in the area and within the town. So you're caught up, and people watching, I hope you can keep up here because I'm gonna go fast. So, little things, I'm just, again, no particular order. When I do it, normally, I kind of take people on a drive in their minds down Main Street, then I go west on University, then east on University, then into the neighborhoods, et cetera. So this one's not that. I told the mayor I would get this in the manager's report form. So again, we're all pretty much on the same page, so I just put this together. So for instance, the brownstones on Main, if you look between Ferndale and Glendale, 10 condos being built. There's 2 of them going up already. As soon as the first one's sold, Vito Pampalona, our ex-member, is the marketing person for that project for Greg Schneider. 10 condos are probably $1 million a piece. As soon as the first one's sold, he builds, that pulls the trigger for the next 9 to be built. There's 2 of them being built now. They're vertical condos, parking in the back and garages. They're beautiful. Greg is working on that. The former Rochester Martial Arts facility north of the BP on Main Street, So they were there a really long time. A gentleman I knew from Southfield owned that building, his family. The dad died, the son didn't want to run it anymore, decided to sell it. I got a hold of Fred at BP and said, you might want to control that, because if you look at that site, there's 14 parking spaces. They look like they're the gas stations, but they're not. That property line goes right to the wall of the gas station. So Fred did buy the property, and so I don't go too long, I won't tell the story, but we got approached by a tenant called Dearborn Federal Credit Union. I belonged to that in 1954 when I was born. My dad was the first person, so that joined that because they came from Dearborn. Obviously, my dad went for Dearborn. So they came in, they're really community oriented. Talked to Christy about it, because we're not big on, you know, filling up these Main Street things with office users. We've got a lot of realtors right now, et cetera, but some of those fit into this mold of they bring a lot of people here during the day. Their customers come in, then they'll stop, have lunch, go shopping, whatever. So Dearborn Federal Credit Union, we're gonna put ATM Gussie up the outside of the building, put some windows on the side. Fred owns it, and they're a lessor. They're going to the Planning Commission in July, so we're very happy to have them here. Dr. Atala started his first phase of the the Paint Creek Village, where he converted where Recipes is. The lower level is 13 apartments. The upper level is 13 apartments. Upstairs is done, ready to be leased. They're making a lot of noise in the basement for another couple weeks. And once that's done, I think you'll have no problem leasing the apartments. They're at a good market rate. We've been in them. They're beautiful, all brand new. That was a kind of musty old office building. Now it's got a lot of new life there. And those people all will walk to downtown. They're right there at the corner. There's going to be 26 units. So that could be upwards of 52 people, the way it's going. The Firestone, I think if anybody knew Ken Kanya and Leonard Jansen owned that site, Sargent Appliance, Firestone, the Framers Workshop, all those folks. So Ken ran the Firestone. He retired and sold the business to Corey Kajan. I think that's how you say Corey's last name. And Corey was a mechanic there for a long time, and he worked his way to get Ken's favor till Ken had faith that he could run. Corey is absolutely smoking that place. So there was that CrossFit gym on the other side of the driveway when you pull in. It was great, but they're out there flipping tires and stuff, sometimes on Main Street, so not the best use there. Well, they ended up moving to a bigger facility, and Corey took that space, and now he's basically doubled the ability for his mechanics to work. So we're really excited for him, and he's doing really well. The library, if you've noticed, the parking lot was closed, open. They're redoing the parking lot there. Very exciting about that. We finally got Chief Cieslik and the code guys got through to the right postmaster at the post office and said, I know we can't tell you to fix your parking lot or trim all your dead trees and bushes, but please. So we've got a good connection there now. I think you're gonna see some action on finally upgrading the post office site, because it's not good, to be honest with you. The Royal Park, I think it's not a room or a secret anymore that they came to City Council looking for a liquor license transfer to a new group from Tennessee. So Frank decided, he's setting himself up for the future, so he was selling the Royal Park Hotel to a group that's very well heeled, have a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels around the country, big hotels. They're used to running a hotel of this ilk. So probably, Christy told me today, they might delay that until the end of July as they're going through due diligence.
The closing has been delayed, but the transition team's already there, so.
Right, so they're already, working with the the employees that are there, et cetera. But we talked to the ownership, they get it. We told them how much a part of that community, of our community that is. Hopefully they keep it going. So it's an exciting opportunity for Frank to move on, and because of that, Frank's just partnered with Mosheri, and I think they closed last Friday on the elevator site. Don't have any plans for it right now, so we don't have to worry about the elevator at this point, but they wanted to control that site. It's dirty. The city got $1 million grant to help clean it up. We're gonna start by tearing down the little white building by the mills, clean up all the bad stuff there and the junk in the backyard. So over the next couple of years, I think you'll see a team of Mosheri and Rewald look to build something there, mixed use probably, maybe office, we'll see. And then they've been showing a willingness to work with us on the elevator, whether they donate it or we move it or whatever we're gonna do. That'll come down the line, so that's exciting. PAR continues to just blow us away. So they're building a $90,000 addition in the back that freed up some of their property in the front buildings. They're building one room on a second floor. It's not even this big. It's $10 million. The whole plan is like $100 million, which is awesome for our tax base. Huge jobs. and they just keep building and building and building. They've been really good partners with us. They're going to the Planning Commission again also in February, so we're excited about that. Pfizer needed to build a redundant still, a water still. So remember, Pfizer's the only place in the country that makes penicillin. It's all they do there. You can't go into PAR and Pfizer on the same day. They won't let you because of the cross-contamination. So they needed to have a still that they've had. It's like 40 years old that distills the water that they use in the process. So they needed a backup, so they're building that. And that's under production right now. School board, bought the building on DeQuinder. Had a bad moment where they kind of cut all the trees down the front of the building, not knowing that was part of an approved landscape plan. We worked with them, and we just got a new plan in, like $180,000 in landscaping on that building when they transitioned to move in the offices later this summer. So we're excited about that for them. On Pine Street, right here, as you come to the City Hall, you see that building. It's 2 stories. There's condos on the upper floor, 3 of them, all sold. Again, $1 million. And the first floor is going to be occupied by the builder, which is Wolverine Construction. They're moving their headquarters to that site here, and it's a beautiful development. It's working out well. St. John's Lutheran Church came back to the Planning Commission mayor for, the 5th time maybe? So they keep growing. They have these awesome growing pains, right? St. John's Lutheran over on Helen and University, and they had come in and we're going to fundraise, I think, $7 million to do a gym and more classrooms, and then COVID hit, so they put up temporary classrooms. The Planning Commission worked with them on that, gave them a year extension. They came in and exploded again with the school, so they asked for 2 more, which we gave them, and a 2-year extension. And then now they're fundraising to actually make that a permanent structure. They put in all the landscaping and all the parking already. So they've done the bulk of their work. Now they just literally have to build onto the building. They've been a great tenant. Today we started Helen Street. So we have 2 projects going on in that area. So we just finished 4th Street. That came through part of the downtown where we ripped out the road, complete streets, sidewalks, curbs, sewers, gas mains, fixed water mains, all that good stuff. 4th is just about done. If you notice today, they're cutting the asphalt squares around the manholes. They'll pour that concrete tomorrow. Sits for 5 days, street's done. Now the next one we're gonna do now is Helen. So they ground it all out today from University to the south end of town. We've already done Wilcox, Mahaffey, and Oak are already done. So this is part of it's called the DWRS, Drinking Water Revolving Fund, I think. And the city got $12 million in loans to do these projects. So when you do them, you rip out the road, you rip out the sewers, you rip out everything, and rebuild it and get out of there for the next 20 years. So we're working our way through, and we only have a couple more streets to do it. And then it's up to the city council if we want to apply for another one of those loans in a couple of years. So those are all working together. If you go north on Pine Street, back in the neighborhood, there was 10 site condos approved. There was 1 built by Bolliard Lumber. Jake Bolliard bought that property out of a distressed developer that didn't have the money to do the job. Jake bought it, put up 1 home, sold that, got 2 more about to be sold now, and permits to build 2 more, which will only leave 5 more to go. So we're excited about that. 407 South Main, which was the sports card and memorabilia place. You saw that was basically gutted and added onto the back, and the owner, when we went through the COVID numbers, he does $4.1 million out of that little store. Sports cards, Pokemon, things like that. He knows how to run that business. He bought the building and is adding the 2nd floor on, so he has warehouse in the back. He put an apartment in the upstairs. He moved over to the Friendship Factory, the old library here on the corner, and he's been in there and he hasn't missed a beat. And they're just getting the custom windows done. They're drywall inside, they're ready to roll, and he'll get back in there very, very soon. 411 South Main was Blake Realty. He came to the Planning Commission about 1.5 years ago. Same thing next to Shamrock, former Mayor Dalton's building. Asked for a 2nd floor addition so he could have his offices on the 1st floor and a condo above it. He rethought it, and now he's going back to the Planning Commission in July to just renovate the facade, which was the old Rush Antiques on Main Street. Unfortunately, there's no historic part of that building. It's pretty bad. So it's a more modern look that he's going to do, and he's coming back to revise the site plan ask. The former Lou the Shoe, Lou's wife would not let him leave town, but he needed a new space, so he moved across University. So he's in the John Christmas building at the bank. So he's in there, and then a new tech company just tech support for computers, moved into the Lula Shoe spot. And then I think they're close to signing a lease with the retailer in this place that was the Framer spot. So again, we got them to clean up the building. We're gonna get some new awnings on it, et cetera. So that's great. Solaronics is, even though it's on the periphery of the DDA, this is gonna be important because the Solaronics building is by the DPW yard. Big building, dirty site again from what they used to make in there. And the developer that was working to buy the collision shop and the cleaners on South Main, that close to making that deal. And the cleaners kind of threw a huge number into it that messed it all up. I think, Tony, you even looked at that building at one time. And it's hard to get that economically to work with the numbers they're playing with. It's almost 3 million just for those two little pieces of property. Until they get off that, it's gonna stay like that. So we're making them clean it up, et cetera. The guy that was ready to pull that trigger lost his patience and said, I'm buying Solaronics, and they're gonna come into the planning commission in August, probably looking at a 3-story apartments, upper scale apartments along the trail. They love it. They've got the financing to do it. So we're looking forward to something like that happening soon. DPW staff over the winter just completed, we had great intentions 10 years ago when we built the community garden. Took all the dead ash trees in town, built the flower beds for them, all natural, wood chips, and then they all rotted and fell apart like we knew they would eventually. So city council approved like, what, $75,000, Mayor, I think? And we redid the whole, over the winter, we stripped all the beds out, worked with Dino Hill, put in, everything's brand new. It's awesome. And they, and we got another 14 beds, and we found out today they're all leased out. They still have a waiting list, even with all the new beds. Some of the money we get in the tree fund, we're gonna build a sugar maple grove off to the side, and then City Beautiful is involved in that. So it's brand new, should last for a really long time. We used really good materials there, so kudos to the DPW, Jason Dickinson and Bubba and Chris, those guys were there all winter working, stripping that place and rebuilding all the beds. All the guys in the winter were in the back rooms building the 4x8 beds and had them ready to go in the spring, which was great. 226 Walnut, now it's gonna be called St. 1881. Armand and Liz that own the brunch house purchased that. It was an office building, but it was a church before that. They're turning it into a European cafe and a speakeasy at night for fancy cocktails and things. So they have to paint it. They're just about done. It's spectacular. You think you're in Europe someplace. We're excited to have them open. That should be opening later this summer. Worked with the mayor on this one. So it took 3 years, but we approved the apartments at Walnut and First Street for Tony Randazzo. 134 units to be built in 2 phases. So part of that consideration, it was pretty contentious with the residents. We all took that one pretty hard, but everybody stepped up and approved it as a special project through Planning Commission and City Council. One of the questions I was asked directly to him was, we know it's a former transfer site and an oil distribution place. It's dirty. Do you need our help? And the answer was no. So part of the predication of approving at the Planning Commission and City Council was they're not asking for any help. Well, they started their EGLE process, which is all the permitting, and it's way dirtier than they thought. Mr. Randazzo has been in contact with me and said, I might need brownfield help. So the mayor, we talked about it, and we're willing to listen to see what his ask might be. If that's what it takes to jumpstart that project, it's a $40 million deal. If that's what it's gonna take and we get 250 people living on the edge of downtown, maybe that's what we have to do. Again, he's not asking us for money, it's just a brownfield to pay himself back over a period of 7 years. So stay tuned on that one. Former Village Shoe-In, Christy and I met with Chuck Thibodeau out there. He's a great guy and very impassioned about his mom's legacy and dad's legacy in that building. So he was kind of spending the last year and a half just fixing it up himself. A little lost on what to do. We talked to him and said, what a venue for music or art or an incubator or something. He got so excited he started knocking walls down to make it look like that on the inside after we talked to him.
No permits, but that's okay.
Yeah, we got to that part, yeah. So he's now secured a tenant, and you know the guy's name from Romeo.
Yeah, they came here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the guys from Yonkers.
Presented to us,
Yeah.
duh,
Yep, the
yes.
guys from
So
Yonkers.
they did do that deal. We know they're in because while we did 4th Street, the next thing they need to do is put a fire suppression system in. That's a 4-inch water main connection. If you're serious, you're gonna have to put it in. We didn't want them ripping up our new roads, so we're like, if you're doing this, pay for it right now, and we'll stub it for you. And he wrote the check, so they're in. So we're excited about that. That'll go to the Planning Commission probably in August. we have a new crypto, this might not be the best time, but a new cryptocurrency building that, remember Bill's Automotive on Mill Street? When you come around that curve on this little connector road? Bill moved his headquarters to South Street, bought a bigger building, and this crypto guy goes in there. It's literally him in an office and these computers that are sunk in oil. And all he does is, they're Bitcoin farms is what they call them. So his is only up to 200 computers. So he's at the small end of the spectrum, but that gentleman signed a 10-year lease and he's in there doing that, which is great. He's fixing up the waterfall and redoing the parking lot and everything on the site, so we're excited about that. You know, there was a fire at Moon River. It was very tragic. Nobody got hurt. Fire department did an amazing job saving Misselfeld's buildings next to it. We met with Carlos and Liz and done everything we can to get them a temporary space to make the soap, sell while they reevaluate. Edison came in and did the final investigation. There's a transformer that blew, dropped the wire on the building. That wire got to the cable inside the building and fried the inside the attic and started the fire. So they have good insurance, so they're looking at possibly just taking that top level off and rebuilding on top. Because the way it was destroyed, they have to be ADA compliant probably when they rebuild, so that we're a little worried about that foundation's 100 years old, can it take it? So they're evaluating that now, and they'll make a decision to add on or build a replica of what was there, so stay tuned on that one. Pure Green Juice and Smoothies moved in the, by Bakehouse 46. So they're really killing it. Everybody in town seems to really like their products, so they're down there and took that space. I talked about the collision shop and the cleaners. Chief Financial Credit Union, I know it seems like forever, but that's a massive project where US Scuba was. So they just put the first course of the asphalt down. They'll pave the driveway next week. And yeah, they're about a year and a half behind schedule. They ran into all kinds of site problems there, but they're great supporters of the DDA and business development. We're excited to have them going. Penny Black was sold to a gentleman, I can't remember Chris's last name, but his family's been in the corny business for a long time in Detroit. He's a restaurateur. He got a partner from New York that's a big-time restaurateur. They bought the Penny Black building from Jeff DeGreek, who's the CFO of OneStream, and kind of had Penny Black for fun. I never even knew what he was there, but he sold that to these guys, and they love it, but they're pretty energetic. So they're going to take the whole inside and make it one big room, so it's not two different things. Keep it open while they're doing it. Redo the whole outside patio. They're coming to the Planning Commission again in July. It's a tough meeting in July. To look at putting some green space around the patio, et cetera. So they own the building. They also signed a long-term lease with Dr. Atala to take the old lower space. O'Shea's, thank you, that's why I couldn't remember the name of it. And they're gonna turn that into a Mediterranean Greek restaurant. And his partner's gonna run one, he's gonna run one. So they're all in town, which is exciting. A guy named Peter Galage is a local builder, really cool guy, very well thought, bought the Spartan. He bought it to flip it, so he bought it, and in 2 days he flipped it for, so I could say it for $800,000 more than he bought it for 2 days before. Decided not to do that, and decided to have his wife and his son run the Spartan. So we sat him down with the police department and explained the Spartan, that's our challenge in town, and everybody's gone. So now he painted and fixed it so it looks better for right now, and now he's going to the Planning Commission, redoing the whole outside, turning it into the Rochester Inn Boutique Hotel. So it's like $200 a night, little rooms, but they're gonna change the front lobby so they can be like, have breakfast in the morning or drinks at night just for the tenants in there. And we'll have another alternate space for folks, and it's all brand new. He's gutting the whole place, so. Then he bought the old bed and breakfast up at 147 North Main. Roger, is that your old house? So somebody bought that, turned into a bed and breakfast. Then the next guy that bought it from Don Jagoda gutted it and destroyed it. And now it's gotta be torn down.
The lady after I sold it.
The GM lady.
First.
Yep, she was first, then Don Jagoda.
She has it on a lot.
Yeah, so it's destroyed right now, literally. Yeah, so Peter bought it, now he's gonna cut it into 2 lots. He's building his permanent residence there and his son's personal residence, so he's all in town. Owns the hotel, and he's gonna live in town, so we're excited about that. The new owners of 1000 University are just about finished filling it up. That's what the ribbon cutting is. Maryland for Rochester Orthodontics. The mayor, we were just talking, he was at one earlier for a different clinic there. So they're just about full medical spaces, which is great.
Yeah, that's where they do the Botox, shoot the
Exactly.
Botox.
Do
in there.
they? Maybe I'll
Yep,
do
so-
it. It'll make me look younger.
There you
Cool.
go. So, Greens is about this
Give
close
them
to being
$1.
sold to, I'll just say, a local realtor that's in town already. So we talked to the folks trying to buy these first floor space on Main Street and discourage anything other than retail. This person's already in town. They'll just move there and take the whole building. And they have a lot of tenants that come in, a lot of, clients. And then that would free up the space where he's in now for retail, we think. Much more marketable for retail. Greens is 10,000 square feet plus a 5,000 square foot basement. That's a big building. And someone's gotta spend a lot of money to make it accessible and stuff, so he's in for that. Sweet Island Yogurt, talk to Christie. Oh, go ahead. No. Sweet Island Yogurt.
No.
Oh, you wanna say that one?
No, because it was confidential.
Oh, you didn't tell me that, okay, or if you did, I didn't hear you, sorry. All right, so Sweet
Just
Island
among
Yogurt's
us,
great,
come
great
on.
place to get a yogurt, go get a yogurt there this summer. The city's gonna dedicate, like Marilyn talked about the mural on the GBB with City Beautiful, it's really cool. We have the mural downtown, the Edisonability, now this one, it's great. Christie's looking at wraps for electrical boxes and taking that art with the site plan committee up to the next level, so we're excited about that. Community house, I think we talked about this before, the bids came in triple over what we thought, like way out of whack. And so Alan's working hard with local suppliers to see if we can get that number down, modify the ask, go back to the planning commission and city council to work on that. So we haven't given up yet, but it's not gonna move that quick. I talked about the projects on Fourth Wilcox in Maine. And the city, council, we recently accepted a grant from the county to finish that last piece of Latica from Parkdale to Romeo. So we've been getting county money, the DDA kicked in money last year to go on Second Street, so we do a mill and fill. So that whole road going on the periphery of town is gonna be replaced. It'll last probably 7 to 10 years, so that's it.
Drink some water.
Not much going on, kind of slow.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please, Mr. Knapp. Oh, sorry.
The house that's on Woodward, it's on the corner of Woodward.
The big one? Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Is that a house or is that condominiums or is that?
So that's, so, you know Lombardo Construction Homes, so Donna Lombardo, I believe her name is, she's the owner of Lombardo Construction, so that's her home. She lives across the street in that giant home. Didn't have a pool, waited for that home to come for sale for years, it's a double wide lot. So she bought that and it's having a Bellagio pool put in there and it's one home. And then she'll sell the one across the street. So that's a big house, that's a real big house. Yeah, it's a home.
Any other questions, Mr. Knapp? Yes.
Nick, I have a question. I wanted to ask you about this anyway, but I talked to you a little bit about that property down where Colony Cleaners, or not Colony, but Village Cleaners was. That went to, I called on that, both those pieces of property at one point in time, and one was 600,000, I think.
875.
Maybe it was 8, and the other one was 1.2, and then now it's 3, they want 3 million for the, is both of them went up that much?
Together, yeah, it's, I don't know what's going on. And so the good news is James Riley owns the collision shop. He doesn't need the money. We told him it's frustrating that that's our entry point to the city. So I said, why not, if you buy, the planning commission was very fair with them last time, right, Mayor? We said, just build a 3-story building and you can have it. The ordinance says you can do 3-story like Ann got across the street. Done. We'll approve it. Put your parking below it, spend your money, put your condos above it, do what you want on the first floor. And I think James, he tried a 6-story building, then a 5, then a 4, and we're like, no, it doesn't fit. It's $90 million, it doesn't matter, it doesn't fit. So now that everybody struck out with that cleaners, no one can get it from her, the folks in LA, he's doing the math to say, how many more units could he get if he incorporated that with his site? I think it works. So I wouldn't be surprised if he grabs that, and then he controls the future, who cares how much the land is, because he bought it for nothing, so.
I just think that it's such an important site for downtown, because it's the entry to from the south, and at one time I talked to you, and the guy was talking about extending the shopping center next door. I cannot think of anything that would be worse, at least visually, for our town,
And
than have a
access-wise, you
shopping
can't make a
center,
left out of it, you're right.
strip center in the entry to it, so I didn't know if there was some way that we could be more involved in trying to make something happen there.
Yeah, we've offered everything. We said, throw a number at us originally and we'll buy it for a parking lot, or we'll buy it for a park. Coming into town, we'll go get a grant. And he won't budge, so it's been 7 years and we haven't given up yet, so hopefully we'll get it one way or another. Hopefully he'll build something, or at some point he's gotta give in, you would think. So, we'll see. Did I forget anything?
You did side dish and.
Oh, I did have
Spicy.
side dish second, yep. So, yeah, 2 more, 4th Street, yeah, thank you, 4th Street, it's on here actually, the, Moss and Ivy space that was there, that turned into what's called the side dish, and the groups from Shelby.
No, Silver Shamrock out of Oakland Township.
Yes.
Deb. Sorry.
So good,
I got that.
Good food.
so good.
Yeah, so, yeah, we just had some of the food at Christie's, event they just had, so they took that spot, great tenant for Brad. Again, the fire department saved that building, so Beyond Juice, Brian closed up shop, but we've got a tea and spice shop going in there. That's gonna just be the coolest thing ever. You see the insides of them around the country, they do this, and it's really cool. So that's an experience, and we're lucky to have them in town too, and they're both going at it right now to get ready to go.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just real quickly, nothing with the elevator has been decided. They haven't come to city council, historical people, nothing's been done, nothing with the school. So don't, so there's nothing.
Keep the pitchforks and torches in your woodshed, it's, you don't bust the
There's no there there.
Yeah,
No
both
there,
owned-
there.
They both owned by private owners, and we haven't heard anything on any of them, so. Again, Frank, it's out to that Frank and Mosher bought that, but they have no plans at this point, so.
Remember when I was first running for city council, I knocked on the guy's door, I says, I'll only vote for you if you put termites in that thing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well,
Doesn't
okay,
need
I'll make sure I
much now.
pass that along, so.
Everybody's waiting for the mice to run out when, they ever do something.
Oh dear, yeah, it's gonna
There
be
was
like,
one more, so a medical salon called Tundra,
Tundu.
Tundig, took the Holly Hung owns the building on the East
Close.
Alley in University, where it's Huntington Learning Center, and there was Tundras and Tutus,
2 2s and 10 2s.
close, in there, and now it's a medical spa, so they took that. Again, we're down to no vacancies, basically, so.
Fieldstone?
Fieldstone, they might have somebody to go in there, thank you for bringing that one up, so it's vacant, Patrick shut down, and we talked to, Jeff Whitby's sister who's running the facility, and they're looking at a retailer, a clothing retailer now, so.
okay.
They've had some people looking, we tried to put Moon River in there,
Oh,
but I thought that's what was gonna happen, but, it didn't, so, I think something will go in there soon, so we have that one.
got it, okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you for your long-winded update, we
Yeah,
appreciate
sorry.
it.
Yeah, that was great.
You always count on Nick to make the meeting run till 10:30 at night. No, there's just tons of stuff going on, and, you know, I can remember those reports not being like that, you know, a decade ago, so we're grateful for the opportunity. So with that, Madam Director, your hard-worked presentation, please.
It's very photo heavy, so there's a lot of thinking that's involved. So our team went to Richmond, Virginia, bless you, last month. Originally, the team was supposed to be myself, Chris Johnson, representing the DDA, Amber Hall, representing the promotions committee and the PSD side of things, and then Jenna from our office, and Jenna and I were going to be doing a presentation together. Unfortunately, the Wednesday before we were leaving, Jenna was diagnosed with COVID. So she was unable to join us. However, Alec had just started, and all of our things were non-refundable, so I was able to call National and see if I could make a few little switches, and so Alec actually ended up going to Richmond with us. You'll meet him next month. He was under the weather tonight, so he didn't join us, but you'll meet him. So this kind of goes into, I'll show you that in a second. So basically, anyone who's ever heard me talk about what we do for National is that we learn in 2 different areas. We learn from the city we go to. That's why they try to choose cities that are of different varieties, different backgrounds, different history. And then we also learn from the classes where we're learning from our peers about what they're seeing in their areas of the country. So that's kind of how I broke up my presentation, what we learned from the city and what we learned from our classes. So again, there's our team. That was us. Alex didn't seem like he was being held hostage. He seemed to have a really good time with us. And for somebody who's only known us for 2 weeks and actually just met Chris and Amber when he landed at the hotel, he did really well with everything. And we got him introduced to a lot of important people at the conference, so that was nice. So that was the team that went. And so we tried to split up going to many classes as we could. I don't know if anybody's been to Richmond. It's a very interesting city, and when I say interesting, it's because literally where our hotel was in the conference center district. and that you could go in any direction and find something completely different. If you went in one direction, you would go, which would have been south of us, you would have gone into their historic district that actually led down to the historic slave trail that existed in Richmond back in the day. If you went to the west, then you got into more restaurant districts. There really was not much retail to be found in downtown Richmond at all. We ended up taking a little afternoon lunch trip up to Carytown, and we found some retail up there and some restaurant. You'll see some photos from that as well. And then if you went north of where our hotel district was, you went to an area that, and I quote, about a block and a half in, Chris Johnson looks at me and says, we're going back because if something happens to you, Nick Banda will never forgive me. So we turned our little selves around and did not go into that area of Richmond. So there were a lot of areas that were vibrant, like this area, which is down off of the slave trail, and then there were other areas that are still in progress. In talking with a lot of our Uber drivers, they said, oh, you should see what it was like 10 years ago. Cool. So there were a lot of areas that needed work. So we did learn a lot from the city. But one thing, here's some of the areas we went to. The one on the left, this is their city hall that they were renovating. Yeah. And this really doesn't do it justice. It is ginormous. It's like a whole city block. It's huge. And it was gorgeous. And I guess Alec had pointed out that it was actually the model for the Grand Rapids City Hall. So I thought that was interesting. The two in the center, or the one in the center and the one on the right, those are both up in Carytown. It was a really interesting district where it was obviously a lot of homes at one point, and they have built it up to be a bunch of restaurants, cafes, art galleries, and retail, and it's really quite interesting. But the one thing that really struck us about this, and there's another little, this up in Carytown, a lot of independent businesses. They actually had this weird strip center that they had in the middle of their downtown that they built around that was still all independent retailers. It was kind of fun. And then they had just sidewalk stands like this that you could walk up and grab things. But what we really loved was the art. There was art literally everywhere you turned in Richmond. This was actually one of the districts that was not so great. Everywhere you turned, you could tell that there was this great commitment to art. This is the entire side of a building, and it's not alone in terms of the amount of art that they had in town. This little guy, we never got the story on him. I have about 5 different pictures of this character on different buildings. This one, he happens to have the little chick on his head. Other ones, he's wearing the crown or he's wearing his baseball cap, but they're all over town. This is also up in Carytown. But their commitment to art is crazy. This is on their drains, leading to different places, trying to let people know where the water is supposed to go and what you're supposed to put in there. This one, it's not the best picture, but again, the same kind of thing. This is all along the road. This is where we went to this great restaurant called Fat Dragon. It was this cool Chinese restaurant. But anyway, but things like that is like everywhere you turned, there was art. This whole building, they actually painted the entire thing to go with the mural on the side. Yeah. And it was incredible. I mean, we couldn't say enough about it. It's just art, art, art everywhere. And of course, you know, I'm pushing this art narrative here, so I thought it was interesting to show you a lot of these things. But this is a lot that we saw in Richmond, is that regardless of what area it was, what area you were in, and what state of repair it was in, there was still this commitment to art, which I thought was amazing that they were able to take a city like Richmond and put it literally everywhere. So it was everywhere you turned it. It was pretty darn cool, and we enjoyed that. Going into the classes, this was actually Jenna and I's class that we would have taught. It was really interesting because when we submitted our proposal to do our Think Big Small Patch promotions, which we were talking about Foodie February and Taste of Fall, Magical Mural Tour, No Filter, things like that, and of course Love Local, we had submitted for a 45-minute session. Jenna preferred that because it was going to be her first time, and she didn't want to do our usual 75-minute session that I love to do. So when I got there, COVID was somewhat prevalent because they had some people cancel, so I was informed that our session had gotten upsized to 75.
Oh my.
So Jenna told me she would have passed out, it would have been fine, but, so we did it. So we had one of the bigger rooms, we had about 170 people in our session, learning all about us. We find that when you go, there are people that have a choice, either they choose to teach or they choose to brag. We choose to teach. And so we tried to zero in on sessions like that. What we found going into this whole thing is that it was very clear, depending on what region of the country people were in, of where they were in terms of COVID. We being Midwesterners, most people around here are like, we're at the end of it, we're looking forward, and those are the sessions that we tried to seek out. Even some were titled that, and then when we got in there, it still wasn't quite past that. There were other people that still felt that they, in their area of the country, that they were in the throes of COVID, that they were still in the middle of it, which was concerning to us, but okay. And then there were other people, mostly in the South, that they just don't talk about COVID. It's kind of like we don't talk about Bruno from Encanto, we don't talk about COVID. So it was a very interesting group, as there were still 1,500 people that came to the conference. As you can see, some people were wearing masks, some not. It was quite the mix. But our session was very well received. We had a lot of people coming up to us afterwards and talking about some of our projects. There's a few sessions that we went to that I wanted to share. Obviously, if Chris had been here, he's given me authorization to offer some information on his behalf, so I will do so. And if I'm wrong, then he can correct me in July, but here we go. This was one that was really interesting. This was actually some designers that they do storefronts and window design and interior store design. So one of the things that came up, I've actually working with the county right now, they had some dollars they would give us to bring them in to do a session for the merchants, to actually talk to them about storefronts and design of their interior stores and things like that the county will be willing to pay for. So we're working on that. But this idea popped up, which I thought was interesting, and I brought this to PSD at the beginning of the month, that this whole window, it's an online auction. So these were items that they had, they made it into a beautiful window display, and then they auctioned it. So as we were thinking of it, now that we have a main floor window, that maybe this might be a fun fundraiser for the holidays, and we were kind of brainstorming through that maybe if we did like a 12 days of Christmas theme and had 12 items in the window, and then using our handy little QR codes, had people scanning in so that they could go and bid on these things. It would be a nice fundraiser for us for the holiday season. So we thought that was kind of interesting, and some things that we might be bringing back with us. This is the big idea that we wanted to bring back. So Main Street Alabama, which they are a very forward-thinking Main Street program, the director happens to be a friend of mine, we went to her session called Small Box Shops. So the idea is with this that they were looking to create some pop-up retail or incubator spaces in some of their Main Street communities. So through this time, everybody's heard about shipping concerns and that a lot of the shipments aren't coming in. There is an abundance of shipping containers. The big sea containers, like you see like a Detroit Shipping Company, those big guys, they are readily available because they are not in use. So we went to the session to see what they did, which they actually created these little pop-up things. They provided them as a pilot to 4 of their Main Street communities. Each one got one, and they could design it any way that they liked. This one actually started out as the Main Street Tourist Trap. This was because it happened to be positioned at the area where people drive into town and be looking for information, but they didn't have a visitor center. So they made this into a visitor center and then also sold local merchandise in there. As you can see, they also added like a little parklet around it. So it's not like they just plopped this by itself. They actually made it a place and transformed space in that way, added some turf and things like that. This then morphed into 3 in Bloom, which is actually an independent retailer who she was working out of her house, founded this business during COVID, and was looking to maybe make a move into this town. This is the interior of what they did. So they actually had doors on the side and then at the exit, so you can come in that way. They're about 100 square feet. They are not big, but I think you can see they really maximized the space.
I can think of some people who would use that.
Yes, so having said all of that, it was really interesting. So Chris happened to be sitting in the session with me, and we kind of started going back and forth about things. We said, I don't know, shipping containers could be a Rochester thing. I didn't feel like it was our look, but maybe tiny houses could be. And something like that. The idea of, rather than in this one, it's a business incubator where they're trying to bring in new businesses and then incubate them to go into existing spaces. I already have 98% occupancy rate. I don't know that I need to incubate, but maybe I need to accelerate. So what we were thinking is working with existing businesses that might have a secondary concept or something else that they want to test market and create these opportunities there, which then, of course, Chris, this is the part that he told me I could speak on his behalf. If anyone knows Chris, he's really into his ice cream that he makes. He is interested in doing an ice cream pop-up concept. And if this is something that the DDA would like us to look further into, he would be willing to be our initial guinea pig and put up his own money to invest in the build-out to make something like this happen. Well, we just thought it was really interesting because at a certain point, we're gonna have to go beyond our 4 walls because we don't have the space. I can't tell you how often people call me and tell me they want more space. I don't have it. I don't think any of the new development, Nick, that's coming is going to allow for new retail. So we have to work with what we have, and if we can't work with what we have, then maybe we have to evolve a little bit. And it's interesting to create something like this that they put theirs in the same space and then kept churning it over in terms of the tenant that is in that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. It could be something that could be then put in a place for a certain amount of time, whatever that lease would look like, and then take it and move it to a new location. And it'd be something working with existing businesses. So this was something that we really thought was super interesting and probably our favorite idea out of everything. The other thing that I would mention in terms of ideas, we heard a lot about pets, the amount people invest in their pets and how many people bought pets during COVID. And so apparently that is the next market we need to be looking at, is the people who spend money on dogs and cats, because apparently it is a $1 billion market. Interesting, just a side little note there.
I think my
So-
wife spends $1 billion a year
Yes.
on our dog.
This was a very high-level view of everything that we learned. It was great time spent for sure. If I can roll into a little bit of what's gonna be in my report here, for Main Street Next Generation, this is something that we've been talking about quite a bit for the last 2 years. Right when COVID hit, we had just had our annual evaluation where we got our accreditation, and I had posed the question to John Bry, as a lot of us did. We've played with all the toys in the toy box. What's left? What else? There are a lot. We're not the only community that's been a part of Main Street for 30+ years. What's next? What are we doing? What is there for us? We were talking about an advanced level track of training at National, talking about a lot of different things. So National finally heard us, and we have been, John Bry mentioned when he was here doing our accreditation, that we are on the short list, that we are going to be one of the pilot communities for this. They're just waiting for the right time. So apparently the right time is next week, because we have a conference call with National. We have been confirmed that Main Street Oakland County is the pilot program, and the following 4 cities are the pilot cities for Michigan. For Oakland County specifically, it's us, Royal Oak, Farmington, and Ferndale. So we are having a conference call next week with National Main Street to start fleshing out what this would mean. And we're hoping that in the fall, we would actually have a physical meeting here in Rochester that I've already offered to host. So, why not? To bring them in to start talking about what this looks like, so that this could actually be rolled out at next year's conference, which is in March in Boston, which is gonna be super cold. So, yes, so lots of great things. I mean, it's always great to be with our Main Streeters, and a lot of new blood there, because of course, as everything changed for the last 2 years, a lot of people retired, moved on. A lot of people decided that Main Street wasn't their thing. A lot of new people decided it is. So it's interesting to see who those people are, what they're gonna bring to the table for the next round of leadership for Main Street. So it's always time well spent, in my opinion. I always appreciate the opportunity to go, so thank you very much. We did have a lot of credits this time. It didn't cost as much as usual, because we had our flying credits from Delta from 2 years ago, when we would have gone, and then Oakland County paid for a couple of our registrations. So, yes. So I'm open to any questions you might have. I was trying to zip through because Nick took so long.
Right. Well, thank you for that presentation. Mr. Knapp, please.
Oh, you heard me, okay.
Yeah, no, you raised your hand, so I got you on the corner of my eye. You need to scooch up so the people on TV can hear you, though.
Thinking about those containers, where was, sorry. And thinking about those containers, where were you thinking that, I was trying to think in our community where there'd be space for that. I can think of 1 or 2, but I can't think of much.
I think it would have to end up being on some side streets, because Main Street, obviously, with MDOT is a non-starter. So I think we'd have to be a little bit creative with some of those things. It might turn into possibly part of a parking lot. Or like we were talking about with Chris, if we did a shipping container or a tiny house kind of concept, that could be something that could be placed in parking spaces outside of his place. We'd have to, as a part of our pro forma, we'd also have to add the cost of renting those spaces on a short-term basis from the city. Or Walnut, it's a great street for that, because it's nice and wide, has a lot of area, but we don't want to tuck it too far away, because we want people to happen upon it. And we want to be able to market it, so that's what we were kind of hoping, if everybody liked just the concept, not approving anything, but any stretch of the imagination, that I might go see my friend, the chairman of the site development committee. We might start talking about a few things and see where we go from here.
Shake the tree and see what falls out. Roger, anything else on that one? You good? Good. Marilyn?
Oh, just a couple of things. Yeah, I really like to make a note of the quality of the art on those buildings. It was very high quality. It was very good. I mean, if we continue down the route we're going, I like it, the quality of the artwork we have so far in the 2 murals. And the other thing is, I don't think a shipping container is so out of line. I mean, with something being new or modern here, I think it's actually a good idea, because I saw shipping containers, I think 8 or 9 years ago at Eastern Market. So, I mean, I think it would be all right I mean, you've got the parklets already, it's just parklets with walls.
And it's really interesting, so my friend Mary, who runs Main Street, Alabama, she already told us that if we're interested in going any further, she will give us all of their paperwork, lease agreements, sources, everything, so that we don't have to start from zero if this is something we're interested in. And also, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Chris and I did also go to a session on pollinators,
Oh,
which they had. Apparently bees are the thing now. Bees are having a moment.
good,
Everything
because
was
I
about the
wasn't,
bees.
I couldn't say that, so I haven't, as you've noticed.
Yes, everything was about the bees at that's
It's
what.
competition
good.
for Maryland, so she doesn't want to bring up the competition.
No, just the negative.
No, I
information
was,
would be-
it was butterflies and pollinators, but I'm glad to see that bees are having their day.
They were having their moments, yes.
Good,
There's a lot-
good. Well,
a lot
you
of
know,
bees
bees and shipping containers, okay.
Yes.
Okay, Tony?
I love the container idea. Is there a structure, like I'm thinking of the structure on the east side? Is it used a lot, like especially the top floor, or no? Like during the day, is it
It
packed?
depends on the season. I will tell you at holiday, it's a lot more readily used than it might be during the day consistently. The way that that's laid out, it does have an interesting odd little jag on the north side of it that you could probably place a shipping container there, and there's a cut through in the wall right there for people to come off of East Street.
Nice to make a little city in there with these cool containers.
That
should be okay.
Not a
Just as long as
city,
it's
but a
like
few boxes. It would be people parking now, that lot would get full, so make some money. It'd be a nice little town.
Just as long as it doesn't look like a homeless encampment.
They're building houses out of shipping
Oh,
containers.
those were nice
Like,
looking.
Yeah.
I love that
They are.
idea. That is cool.
I know someone in Southfield that built a gorgeous home out of several shipping containers, so.
It's doable. Is that your?
Well, I was actually going to ask, do you have any data on how the cost of shipping containers compares to new construction? Because I think we know the cost of everything is exploding.
Right, so she was saying for the shipping, this was at least from Alabama, from their source they got it from, the shipping containers, depending on the quality, because none of them were new, they're all, previously loved.
Rust level.
Yes, exactly, so they were anywhere from 25 to 40,000, depending on the level of.
Fully built out, you mean?
Would we be better off getting something from a non-snow climate to avoid the rust?
They're all ocean riders, it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but that was not tricked out, that was,
So, I mean, I bought a 40-footer at the farm, I paid $2,500 for it, so,
oh, very nice.
yeah, so they're,
Shipping container?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
they're great, too, putting a roof on it, making a giant garage, it's great.
Chrissy, who do they rent those
Wow.
containers
So maybe
for?
we
Did
could
you
get
find
one
out
for
over there?
So I didn't get the rental rate of what they're renting the containers
that
for, and they
cost
left
is
it up to the individual, cities that they got them from, and they actually got some grants also to help fund the initial purchase of some of these things as well. So, but if that is something that anybody's interested in getting more information on, I can, call Mary and start getting all that stuff.
I'd like to get
Great
that.
idea.
Yeah. And we could get his $2,500 one.
Yeah, so Ben, you're just gonna have to hand it
No
over,
worries, man.
and off we go,
Yeah.
but,
and-
yes.
Anybody else? Because I had to. So I don't know if any remembers or had spent any time down at Campus Martius in the wintertime, Christmas time, but there was a whole host of these huts. I mean, I don't know what you would call them, but they were
Greenhouses.
little greenhouses that were set up to be precisely what we're talking about, and that was largely in a parking lot. So, and we talked about when we did the farmer's lot, and our iteration of, it was to actually stub out electrical in the farmer's lot so we could put these things up. So it feels to me, I mean, it seems like, I mean, I'm just kind of seeing it out of heads. I think everybody's kind of into it, so I wouldn't say don't go, let's just try to put some more meat on the bone, as it were. I would be curious in a pro forma looking at the cost. I think that they're not as going to be anywhere near as expensive as you think they are. I think all built out, it may end up being that, but just buying the raw container, I got a 40-footer for $2,500 delivered, but it's Mount Pleasant, it's a farm. I mean, I guess I could drag it down I-75 and bring it, But also get with Anthony and figure out what areas from a usage standpoint might be available for us. I think the parking is going to be and it'll be good because the city is going to find areas that are not typically used during the day that we're able to actually, pay a rental fee and build that in the pro forma.
Put it on top of the parking garage.
Yeah, well, so when we built the east deck, there was the notion there that, it could be, turned into retail or do
Yeah,
whatever.
that's, I mean,
So that roof is perfect for it. But so anyway, I guess the direction, at least if I'm seeing, is that, yeah, let's see if there's a there. more information needed. If it's not shipping containers, what else would it be if it's these greenhouses or whatever else? And then let's just, we always stick and move around here, so this is just sort of that evolved. So once again, every time you guys go to these things, you come back with great ideas, and it just, the downside is every time you come back with them, they always end up costing money, so we have to figure out that. But the good news is you're also pretty good at getting us funding for these things as well. So any other thoughts? I know we've been here a long time, but thank you for that. We appreciate it. So I guess re-put this on the agenda for July, get with site, and kind of you guys talk about, let's just kind of keep the momentum going. Okay. Thank you for that. Executive Director update is half done, so.
Yes, I do have show and tell for us.
Okay.
So this is a new product that just came into the studio. These are actually vintage maps of Rochester that we had put on a shoulder tote and a lunch tote. I'm going to pass these along if you guys want to take a look at them.
right.
So they found these really cool old maps. So it even shows, old is relative, shows Great Oaks Mall, shows Michigan Christian College, some different things. So these are kind of fun. This one is actually an insulated, toted, zippered, and then everything. So we're going to do a little promotion on this. We're going to release these tomorrow. And we're going to be marketing it as, Rochester, where you are kind of stuff. And we're going to do a little posting. We've been selling the railway books at the studio. We just went through our first case, so we're on to our second case now. So we're trying, we're trying to help. So we thought we'd put that with it as well. And then we got in a new water bottle, water tumbler that's actually a graphite that would kind of match with all of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. No,
That's kind of fun. So we did a small quantity. It's actually, they're all handmade in Ohio. So it's kind of a cool story. It's a family that makes these. So if these go well, then we can reorder them. But we ordered a small quantity just to kind of try them out. I thought everybody might be excited about that.
Merch.
All about the merch. And then other than that, yep, everything else was contained on my report.
All right, very good.
I had a comment. Christie, your 3rd Street vendor market
Oh, Thursday night markets?
went very well, has been going very well, and I just wanted to make a comment about how great it is on 3rd Street. So, yeah.
Yep, so
Just a
Thursday-
thought.
Yes. So Thursday night market, we had to
doesn't
move
have anything
from
other
4th Street
than
to
to say
3rd
she
Street
likes
because of the
3rd
construction.
Right.
But
we
3rd Street,
stayed
it's been,
open.
we don't do a lot
We
down
did
on
good
3rd Street just because it's not quite as wide as the other streets, but it's really been, it has a nice vibe to it down there.
Yeah.
And I know Tanya's been saying open for that. Are you going to be open this week for that?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
The only
so-
reason we weren't open last week is Chef Betty's daughter graduated, and she had
very
to be
nice.
someplace to be, so.
Well, I remember I was still on council. We were walking with those consultants. I think they're from Ann Arbor, and they're talking about placemaking and stuff, and we were going down Main Street. It was just rough. We hung it right on 3rd, and they're like, this is where you need to be, so.
Yeah, 3rd Street has a really nice vibe to it.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
no, that's great, and thanks, Tanya, for pointing that out. Got to make sure we sprinkle the love around, so,
Right.
right?
I'm okay with robining it.
Right, 100%. Events and marketing update?
So everything's in here. As Paul mentioned, Junk in the Trunk is this weekend. We've been sold out for over a month now.
Okay.
So very popular event. We'll be doing another one in August, and that'll open for registration in July. Yep, but we're all ready to rock and roll for the summer.
All right, very good. Financial report is in your packet. If there's any questions for the director, fiscal year ending in a couple weeks, so, 3rd verse, same as the 1st. We start a new year on July 1st. Biz Dev?
Biz Dev, well, November 14th is the date that we're going to have our annual meeting, and that will be,
Holiday Expo.
what?
Holiday Expo?
Yeah, the Holiday Expo, okay? That will be the time where we're going to have lots and lots, have we even sold out on it, or?
So we do typically sell out of Holiday Expo. We haven't been able to do it the last couple years, one because of COVID in 2020 and 2021. Things were spiking, so we thought it might not be the best call. So this will be our first year back, but Chamber is going to partner with us again.
That's great,
For this event.
because they've always brought in lots of extra people. And we're bringing back the recognition awards. Could you explain that?
Sure. So we talked about this at Executive Committee. For any of the new people on the board, you probably haven't seen this, but we started about, I want to say maybe 4 years ago, where we did these Downtown Recognition Awards. So any businesses that had perhaps an award in their industry or a significant anniversary or different things that we wanted to recognize them for, like we brought Busy Buzz in for the renovation of that building. So they would come in, we would make a nice certificate, frame it for them, we would present it here, Ben would read it, we get a nice picture, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, when we weren't in person, we didn't have those anymore, and then we've been waiting for things to stop spiking and doing whatever they're doing. So I brought it to executive committee last week to see if they would be up for having people come visit us. They said yes, so if everyone here is amenable to that, tomorrow I'll go ahead and blast an email out to all the businesses saying that this is what we're looking for from the last 2 years. So buckle up, we're probably gonna have a nice steady stream of people. We usually bring them in about every 3 months, so quarterly. So, yes. So, but our goal would be to have the first round come in next month.
Okay, anybody vehemently opposed to recognizing our, okay, good stuff, all right, all right. I didn't think so, all right, very good. Thank you for that, site?
Okay, every year, the site committee, we do our annual walk through town. We look at private property, we look at our property, how it should be taken care of. And this year, it's July 7th, and this walk is just not for the site committee. We want to invite everybody. And Roger and I talked about it. I want Roger to join us that day for sure. But it's July 7th. I think we start at 8:30.
8:30.
And everybody is welcome to come. We'd love to have you.
Where do you start?
We're going to start at the Collaboration Studio, and I'm bringing the donuts.
Excellent. Oh, good. Excellent. Let's say Coney's at 7:30 in the morning. I think that would be better. Start the day right.
Certain mornings. it's
No bad time for a pony.
What do you
They-
say, the 7th at 8:30?
Yeah, 7th at 8:30.
At the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, and so wear your walking shoes because we walk all over the place.
In the.
It's a fun morning.
It's a fun morning, get some exercise and
Notes allowed.
find out, you know, recognize those who are doing their civic duty and step up the politeness with those who are not doing their civic duty, so.
Yeah, we have, Department of Public Works joins us as well as the fire department because they do enforcement,
Right.
so.
All righty, that is it. Miscellaneous, anything from the Peanut Gallery as we're,
Yeah, I was just going
Ms.
to
Mayor.
announce, a longtime resident, Lucy Strand, passed away.
oh, man.
So, longtime member, Lucy Strand, longtime member of the OPC board
Oh, dear. Oh,
and
that's-
things, Great Oaks,
that.
resident.
Yeah.
So she passed away, and I think her service is going to be the 28th, 10 o'clock at St. John Lutherans.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen Clarence out and about, but I haven't seen.
Told me a long time, Jerry's gun shop, Jerry passed away May 1st.
Oh, yeah, I did see that, so. Yeah, it's a bummer. Yeah, she was a great lady. On that bright note, I know, and I appreciate that because I was unaware, and I'd seen Clarence, but I wasn't sure what was going on. Now this all sort of makes sense, so. Okay, anything else? With that, thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, they live in Cedarbrook.
Yes,
Last
okay.
month, maybe, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you.